Honestly, I don't even know where to start. On the surface, you've got this perfectly normal family. Young girl, grandmother. You know, apple pie America kind of stuff. But I knew better. I'd seen this kind of innocence too many times. So I did what I do best. I dug deeper. But apparently in the process, I struck a nerve. Because that's when this showed up on my doorstep. And that was the moment when everything changed. Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory and the first ever 4-way Theorist crossover weekend. I've been looking forward to this day ever since we launched Style Theory. Now we've done this kind of thing before, KFC Week, Pokemon Week, and our most infamous cross-channel event, Cannibalism Week. A theme so nice we actually decided to do it twice. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing you one better. Welcome my friends to Mystery Meat Weekend. Yep, it sounds gross and believe me, kinda is. Over on Film Theory, we're dissecting the living meat monsters of Vita Carnis. Food Theory is carving into some meatballs made out of cloned mammoth meat, and Style Theory is being the most sensible of the bunch by looking into how many people you can feed using a dress made of pure beef. So go get yourself a heaping helping of protein by checking those out after you finished over here. It is a weekend full of content that would make the Liver King proud. Not that that's anything I am actively striving for.
I'm gonna take a huge bite out of these testicles.
How then are we celebrating Mystery Meat Weekend here on Game Theory? Well, what I've got cooking for you is fresh, juicy, and hot out of the oven. We're heading back to the world of Merge Mansion to take another look at the mysterious pies cooked by the one and only Grandma Ursula. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, let me catch you up. Over a year ago, we started looking into the mystery of Merge Mansion, an item matching mobile game that caught everyone's attention with their series of bizarrely dramatic ads. Houses set on fire, hidden basements full of money, sheds full of knives, and of course your sweet loving grandma arrested with one of 3 mysterious quotes written on her hand as she's driven away by the paddy wagon. Some of these things even got freaking Kathy Bates to star as Grandma.
Grandma!
When you get an Oscar-winning actress to start giving titty twisters to statues in order to hawk your mobile game, you know you've got cash to spare. Anyway, using those ads, I was able to put together a timeline of events and answer the question that smeared across all of them. What is Grandma hiding? The answer, if you've been watching this channel long enough, was obvious. Murder! I suspected that Grandma Ursula was involved in an elaborate murder plot, killing people off and then hiding the dead bodies in her famous pies Sweeney Todd style. She was then training up her granddaughter Maddie to take over the family business and her iconic secret recipe. Hence why we're here today for Mystery Meat Weekend. And that's honestly where I left my investigation. Merge Mansion went back to releasing their normal CG ads, which didn't really add anything to the lore, and I went back to doing what I do best, failing to solve FNAF. But little did I suspect what the developers of this game had cooking.
Well, look who's returned into my inbox. And what do I have inside? A letter from Maddie Bolton. Solve the mystery. Who are you gonna call? Me.
A challenge. An invite to the mansion to get hands-on and search for clues to put the Grandma Ursula mystery to rest. But before I entered the garden gates, they also sent through plenty of pre-reading materials.
Look at this. We got like post-it notes, like what does Winston know? A rubber, I didn't even know that there was a rubber ducky involved in this. What's Grandma hiding? Trusted the maid? There's a maid now? There's so much here! I'm having like serious flashbacks to the Grubhub when they sent us all this stuff. Maybe Grandma was a part of the Jimmy Neutron cinematic universe.
And there, buried in all that paperwork was where I'd find the most shocking reveal to date.
She's 5'11"?
That's right, Grandma was a unit.
180 pounds? She could clock me!
Osteoporosis ain't got nothing on those bones.
I'm going to the mansion tonight, and I'm gonna solve this mystery once and for all. Ursula, Grandma Bolton, you're going down. Matpat's got a theory for you, and it's gonna be your last. Get ready! Let's go.
But apparently I wasn't the only detective headed there that afternoon. Pedro Pascal, fresh off the heels of The Last of Us, would also be there at the mansion as part of this mystery event. In fact, he had just been tapped to play the detective solving the mystery of Grandma Ursula in a brand new series of ads that they had released literally the same day. And so, as you'd expect, the internet was going nuts. Danny Gonzalez literally dropped everything to make a reaction video to this.
Emergency!
video! I am making this video to let you all know that Pedro Pascal is in a Merge Mansion ad.
But to me, those ads just seem to once again confirm everything that I talked about in my past theories.
The only secret around here is what she's putting into those pies. It's something to die for. I'd kill for that recipe.
Like, Pedro, my guy, just look over here. I got 2 videos with all the evidence that you need. I literally did your job for you a year ago. Unless, of course, there's something else going on here. Looking through Pedro's trailers, there was something new that I noticed. Someone who kept getting an unusual amount of screen time. This guy. They show wedding photos, family portraits, and other characters talk about a missing body.
There's no body, no smoking gun, just a lot of knives.
This was clearly the mystery that the guys at Merge Mansion wanted me to solve. Who is this man? What happened to him? And how did it all relate to my visit to the mansion? We were about to find out. After arriving at the mansion, one thing became crystal clear. Lore was everywhere. Conspiracy boards, props, pictures, and postcards, they went hard on this thing. And through it all, only one thing kept running through my mind.
Here's the question that really matters though. Is this canon?
Yes, it was. We were told that we'd be entering the mansion in small groups, and that Pedro would be doing the whole thing solo later that day. And with that, my dreams of recreating my Grogu fan fiction with him were canceled temporarily. Anyway, it was time to finally enter the house. The event was probably best described as an escape room the size of a mansion, all set in the Hollywood Hills. It took us from the library to a hidden kitchen in the basement, even up to a secret security office hidden through the fireplace.
Hard plus scones. No way! It's Merge Mansion meets Five Nights at Freddy's. Look, check this out. Circle. Gotta go back to the study. So much lore! Oh, my mind is blown!
Before eventually coming full circle back to the main floor and Grandma's dining hall, where she'd set up a little bait and switch for us, distracting us with a mannequin while she slipped out the back. So even though Grandma Ursula ultimately eluded our grasp, the whole thing wasn't a bust. First, the box that was sent to me at the beginning of the event confirmed that of the 3 hand messages that we saw in those Merge Mansion ads, one of them was canonical.
So originally there were 3 versions of what she wrote on her hand. It seems like this is the one that they're sticking with, so that's good to know.
He is alive. So who then is he? Well, all along the path throughout the mansion, there was one name that kept coming up over and over again. Grandpa Charlie.
There's Ignatius. There's Ursula and Charlie. See, Charlie. It's the dumbwaiter. Prepare a special for Charlie. Where is Charlie?
In both the Pedro Pascal ads and the live action event, Grandpa Charlie appears to be the linchpin, the secret unspoken character that has Easter eggs about him littered everywhere. Now, I initially wrote him off in our earlier theories just because he seemed like nothing more than a passing mention, and whenever anyone did bring him up, it seemed to be implying that he was dead. Little did I realize though that that's kind of the point. They want you to think that he's dead. He's the only character that would make sense in this family photo from the new ads.
What am I missing? Crime scene, weapon, motive? I was finally in, but still couldn't put the pieces together.
I don't know what you're complaining about here, Pedro. This detective work is easy. But okay, we have our victim. Now we need to figure out what happened. As I said, initially I dismissed Charlie because he seemed to be dead in the game's dialogue. So checking back in on the game felt like a good place to start. And let me just say, this is not the same game that I researched a year ago. The game itself is still the same. You're still merging items together to form new ones, and you're still trying to fix up the mansion grounds. But the story and character dialogue has received a massive update. Old scenes are no longer there, and new ones have been put in their places. Ones that focus very specifically on the mystery of what happened to Grandpa Charlie. From the get-go, Maddie is trying to figure out what happened to her parents, but also Grandpa Charlie. Eventually, we learn that Charlie never set foot in the mansion. He was from a poor family. He was not interested in wealth, and he was loved by many. All of which are fine little details, but they're not really helping us get to the bottom of the mystery. The closest thing we get to that is a gold watch that Maddie finds that once belonged to Grandpa Charlie, given to him by Grandma Ursula. Ursula wants that thing thrown out, but Maddie keeps it and starts asking around town to see if anyone has any other information. This, though, is what leads the police to use it as evidence to arrest Ursula, leading to the iconic ad of Ursula in the back of the cop car. And that right there, that's when it hit me. The recent CG videos that have been put onto the Merge Mansion YouTube channel originally felt like a lot of nothing burgers, or nothing pies, I suppose. They were just Grandma Ursula being shady, but not in the I'm actually a murderer kind of way. I didn't really know what to make of them. But thinking about this now with the new understanding that her husband, Grandpa Charlie is alive, I think I've got an idea of what's going on. What if the reason Ursula's being shady is because she knows where Grandpa Charlie is? In the video, left or right, we see Maddie follow Ursula into a snowstorm, but when she catches up, Ursula's footprints go one way and the sledge of supplies that she was dragging go the opposite way, thereby implying that someone else grabbed them and took them away. Charlie. It was all to see and also help Charlie. But why? Why would she want to keep him a secret? Sadly, this is where the trail ran cold. I dug through so much in-game dialogue, went frame by frame for every video ever released. I even spent an unsettling amount of time doing the unthinkable and playing the game to see if there were any secrets in the item merging sections, but ultimately came up empty-handed. Much like Daddy Pascal, Detective Pascal, I couldn't figure it out. Or at least I couldn't until I re-examined all those papers that they sent to me in their challenge. In the middle of all those files, blueprints, and newspaper clippings, there was one series of documents that literally blew the case wide open. A series of journal entries.
February 15th, 1971. I'm the happiest I've ever been. My sweet Lily Ursula is now my wife. She looked so beautiful in her white dress. Her smile lit up the entire room. The ceremony was simple, but it was filled with love and happiness. I can hardly believe she chose me, and I am now a husband. I'm so grateful to have her by my side. We spent our first night as husband and wife at a small hotel. We talked late into the night about our future together, about starting a family, our hopes, and our dreams. I'm the luckiest man in all of Hopewell Bay.
That right there, that isn't just chicken scratch, that is the diary of Grandpa Charlie himself. This is him marrying Ursula, again highlighting their lack of finances with a small and simple ceremony, and money would actually become a running theme throughout all of the entries. They also get a whole lot harder to read, gotta be honest. I wasn't able to fully decipher them all, but I think I have enough understanding as to what's going on, so here's my rough translation.
June 12th, 1979. Today has been tough. Letter from the bank that we've missed our mortgage payment again. We've been working so hard, but nothing is never enough. So, I let Leonard, me to get 100, I save. His so-called investment opportunities, that guy. I fear even though it is Ursula's brother, that will only dig me deep into a hole. I'm just trying to provide a better life for our family. A life my Lily deserves, but it may be too late. September 9th, 1980. Tonight the guys came over for a game of poker. Not much of a gambler, but it has become a regular thing now. Trying to keep my mind off all the paranoid struggles, but it's a losing battle. All those letters piling up. Things to move back in with Leonard at Beaumont Hall. On the bright side, there is plenty of Hopeberry whiskey to be had. My only solace from the mounting pressure I've been facing. And the worst part is not being able to share it with my Lily. November 21st, 1980. It's been some time since I last wrote. Things just difficult. I'm sure what to do. I've been appointed by some unsavory characters Leonard got us wrapped up with about a debt and paying them back. I never intended for it to get this dark. Now I fear for the safety of my wife and my child. I just want their needs to be met. I want my family to be safe. I can't risk their safety by being tangled up with those people. I hope it's not too late. I'm writing this by candlelight. I can hear my Lily. They would be better off if I...
This right here is the smoking gun, loyal theorists. This tells us everything we need to know. Not only was Charlie a poor man before he got married to Ursula, he continued to be a poor man afterwards. They were struggling to make mortgage payments, and any money that he did make, he was thrown away on drinking and gambling. Tale as old as time. What's interesting though is we're also introduced to a character that we've never heard of before, Leonard Bolton, Ursula's brother. And while we don't learn a whole lot about him, the main takeaway is that this guy is wrapped up in some unsavory businesses. He's the kind of brother-in-law that always has a get-rich-quick scheme going on. And sadly, the situation Charlie finds himself in means that he has to go along with it. Unfortunately, it seems like the last scheme that these two pull is ultimately their downfall. When I was looking at the detective cork board from the live event, I noticed one very odd detail. There was a piece of paper pinned that was from an official government document, more specifically references to the Foreign Agricultural Trade of the United States. Weird. weird, right? Something about it just felt out of place here. So I spent my day doing the most fun thing on the planet, deciphering government financial documents. Yeah, I definitely know how to party. I won't bore you with all the details here, but basically these documents track the US's import and export of agricultural foods. Things like wheat, rice, vegetables, fruit, cotton, sugar, coffee. It keeps track of the rise and fall of what other countries are buying and selling to us and whether the market is good or bad. It's important data, but looking at the files from the dates on the corkboard revealed something that started to explain Charlie's predicament. Generally, agricultural prices continued to go down for that period, which if these two men were invested in those trades would have left them with less profits. And when you owe people money, that's not going to be great. But there was one market in particular that was most affected throughout those dates. Slowly but surely throughout the 1980s, the US stopped sending freights full of agricultural stock to Russia. The Cold War was at its height, and so the US stopped selling, and more importantly, buying from Russia. However, during the 70s and 80s, the US did increase the rates of immigration into the country, specifically from Russia, which led to the rise of the Russian mafia in the US, a mafia that would do what it could to smuggle goods to and from their homeland, which sounds like a pretty good match for these unsavory characters that Charlie and Leonard find themselves indebted to. If they weren't making much from their usual agricultural sales, or worse, weren't able to keep up with their end of the debts by smuggling high-value items in and out of the country, then that would lead to a very bad ending for both of them. Which leads me to my conclusion on all of this. Where's Grandpa Charlie now? Simple. He's on the run. He's in hiding. He wasn't able to pay back the loan sharks, and so they came after him, and he did the only thing that he could. He ran, leaving his wife and child behind in order to protect him. That's why we see Ursula stealing and destroying evidence. She's trying to hide any sign of where Charlie might be. It's also why Ursula is willing to go to prison for him. She doesn't want anyone finding him and killing him. So, is Grandma Ursula a murderer? Doesn't really look like it. She's just a lady who loves some bloody pie and has a passion for knife collection. Perhaps the true mystery meat in the pies was that there was no meat all along. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. And hey, if you want to decipher more random lore about meat-based products, click the video that you see on screen right now to see if you can eat a dress made of meat. How many calories is that? And how is it possible that it's still in a museum to this very day? I don't know, maybe they turned it to jerky or something? We're gonna find out. As always, my friends, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.